What's going on, guys? Steve Pulaski coming back with another review, this time of Mud, the brand new Jeff Nichols movie in limited release. I think in about a couple hundred theaters across the United States. I'm not really sure, but I was fortunate enough to see it. I heard about this. I believe it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. I'm actually almost positive it did. And I remember hearing about that, and I remember there being a lot of movies at Cannes this year that I really wanted to check out. Like, I know Prince Avalanche is another one with Emile Hirsch and Paul Rudd in it, which I cannot wait to check out. I think that's a David Gordon Green movie too that he made. If you guys aren't in the independent circuit, he made The Sitter, which I hated, Your Highness, which I hated. You know what I mean? But I know he's done some really well done independent movies like George Washington, which I really got to get to. Anyway, I'm going way off topic. Mud, the brand new Jeff Nichols movie. Jeff Nichols is famous for directing Shotgun Stories, his directorial debut, and Take Shelter. Take Shelter with Michael Shannon. I love that one. That was a very good movie that you guys need to really check out. If you love apocalyptic cinema, if you like slow burn cinema to begin with, if you like apocalyptic cinema, it's a requirement. It is honestly a requirement. People want to know about apocalyptic movies. That's the first one I come out and tell them. Anyway, what was I going to say? So, Mud, kind of a difficult movie to summarize. It's a hard movie to get across to people because of the fact that it's very, it sounds so cliche, but honestly, I'm going to come out and say it right now, this is probably one of my favorite, this is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year, if not my favorite. So, Matthew McConaughey plays a guy named Mud. He's a fugitive, and he lives out on this real secluded island in Arkansas, okay? Now, these two 14-year-old boys, played by Ty Sheridan and Jacob Lawflord, I believe his name is, they played two kids named Alice and Neckbone. And they're about 14 years old, like I said, and they go out and they find this boat, like, on top of this tree, okay? There's, like, a whole speedboat on top of this tree. There's porno mags in it, and there's, bunch of food, bunch of canned food. So they find that there's a guy living there, obviously, and they find that it's Mud. And they become friends with him. He's a fugitive, like I said. He tells them what crime he committed, and I don't want to go too much into that because it's a really great story. You guys need to see this. So what winds up happening, though, is that the two kids form a relationship with this fugitive, even though he's a bad person. They try and reconnect him with his love, played by Reese Witherspoon. Her name is Juniper. And while also trying to evade, like, the sort of hardships of their home life, like, Neckbone. He lives with his uncle. He doesn't have a mom and dad. You never hear what happened to him. And then Alice's parents are going through a rough patch in their relationship, looking to get a divorce, which is kind of upsetting in the movie, one of the sadder points. But, yeah, this is a very, very well-done movie. Mainly, the first thing that I love about this movie, aside from, you can forgive, sorry, I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit. Sorry, it's kind of bothering me. You can say anything about, like, the cinematography and the writing and everything, but the way this movie conducts itself, and what I'm talking about is, the way that you can look at this movie, there are so many different angles you can look at. I keep screwing with the camera, I'm sorry, guys, I didn't have much time to set this up. I saw this movie last Saturday, about 4 o'clock now. I saw this yesterday at like 4:45, like, right after school. I never see movies after school. But there's so many angles you can look at this movie from. And one of the main ones that you can really see in this movie was the way that Nichols wanted the fact that there's different ways, like I said, different ways you can look at it. And I'm kind of confusing myself here. Case in point, you can look at this as like a coming-of-age drama, okay? And it's a very simple way to look at it, but it's a functional way to look at it. You get a lot of, like, what you bargained for. I would even equate this to the movie Stand By Me, the Rob Reiner movie that I love to death. That's one of my favorite movies. You can look at it that way, just a coming-of-age drama. You could look at it as like a parable of love, in a way, because you could see that Ellis is very devoted to try and give Mud the best life possible, even under these crappy circumstances. When you think about it, he might be wanting to try and save Mud and Juniper's relationship, because he hates to see the way his parents are suffering in their own. So he wants to give, another couple a shot at love, while his own family's love is dying, which is a very sad way to look at it, but it's a potent one to look at. And you can also look at this movie as kind of like a chase movie in a way. It's like kind of not as like an action epic, but the way the movie sets up like just the chase between law enforcement and Mud. And there's an amazing scene at the end too when Mud is forced to go into town that is just absolutely raw and shocking and potent and emotional. And that's the one thing about this movie too. I love movies that tackle a wide range of feelings, and this movie really does, because you're just as, it almost feels like you're almost as naive as the two characters in the movie, as Alice and Neckbone. You almost feel as that naive because you're almost like getting into something and you don't know if you want to go there, and it's like, oh my God, you know. I mean, that's the one thing. You really feel like you're just as naive as these kids, and that's the one point of the movie that I really loved about it and just really adored the fact that they touched on that. They didn't make the kids seem too precocious in the way that like they were smarter and they knew everything when they really didn't. They were typical 14-year-old boys. They knew what they didn't know exactly what they were getting into, and they didn't pretend like they did. They were scared, they were nervous, they were shocked, you know what I mean? And that's the thing about this movie too. But there's so many other things I could talk about this movie, but I'm choosing to reserve myself because I want you guys to see this. I don't care. Disregard all other new releases. You don't need to see Michael Bay's Pain and Game. No, I will next week. You don't need to see The Big Wedding, which I will see on DVD, unfortunately. You don't need to see Tyler Perry's Temptation, which I unfortunately sat through. You don't need to see The Host. Half the stuff in the theater now, you don't need to watch. I mean, the only other movie, I mean, if you were going to go see The Place Beyond the Pines over Mud, I can understand that. You want to go see Trance over Mud, we can kind of talk. But I guarantee there is not a better movie out right now. And maybe I'll sound a little ignorant here. There is not a better movie out on screen at your theater. If Mud is playing, there's likely not a better movie out in the same multiplex, okay? It is a jaw-dropping movie in a lot of regards too. Just the way that everything gels together, and the way that the story is told, and the way that Matthew McConaughey too. And let me talk about Matthew McConaughey for a second. Let me take a minute and talk about him for a minute. Matthew McConaughey was like the joke actor of the 2000s, you know, doing movies like Sahara, Failure to Launch, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, none of which I can see myself watching anytime soon. But in the last few years, he has really improved the way that he has, you know, gone about choosing roles. I think he finally made enough money that where he can start branching out, you know what I mean, and doing riskier projects that may or may not make their money back. Case in point was Richard Linklater's Bernie, a terrific movie. A hugely quirky movie that I love. I cannot wait. I actually was just reading about it. You know, the site Reddit, like if you go to the movie section, they like to talk about Bernie a lot. Every so often you hear some guy saying, just saw Bernie, loved it. A couple months later, a couple weeks later even, just saw Bernie, Jack Black's best performance. And I was like, you know, listening to all that kind of people talking about it, I was like, I really got to see this movie again. I haven't seen it since about a year ago. Magic Mike, which was unfairly ostracized as like not the gay movie, the male stripper movie. Everybody ostracized it like that. They're like, oh God, this is a chick flick or whatever. When it's a really great story. I'm a male and I loved it more than a lot of my female friends. That terrific film there. Matthew McConaughey gives an excellent performance. And then Killer Joe too. Again, I don't even need to say anything, man. Matthew McConaughey in that movie. Emil Hirsch, Thomas Hayden Church, Gina Gershon, Juna Temple, and it's, you know, that all-star cast and that Matthew McConaughey made that role of the title character just explode. Like I said, I'm kind of going away from Mud, but I'm just saying that Matthew McConaughey, you know, even though all those cowboy hats, all those last 3 movies, y'all had a nice cowboy hat on. Really terrific job at selecting roles now, and that's what I really love. I cannot wait to see what else he's got in store. Anyway, though, guys, thank you for watching. Sub if you haven't. Keep in mind these video reviews only serve as a companion piece to my written reviews. You will not get my full opinion. For my full opinion, you need to go to my website and read the full written review, which will be linked below this, okay? But yeah, giving Mud a 4 out of 4 stars. Okay, my first video reviewer, I gave a film a 4 out of 4 stars. The second movie I gave this year a 4-star. I gave American Winter, the HBO documentary, a 4-star. This is probably my favorite film of the year. I hope you guys check it out. I hope there's a lot of people in the theater when I saw it, so I'm really hoping this makes some good money at the box office. It is one to see. If in a perfect world, this would beat out Michael Bay's new movie at the top of the box office, okay? Love it, love it, love it. Thank you guys for watching.